Okay, be honest. Have you ever been grinding so hard to stay productive that you suddenly think, why do I feel so off and slow right now? If that sounds like you, trust me, you're not alone. So many high achievers get caught in this loop of pushing and pushing. Meanwhile, their peace, their joy, and their sanity are quietly slipping out the back door along with their productivity. Welcome back to the Higher Alignment Podcast. I'm Mintu Lamb, and I help high performers and executives get out of burnout so they can feel more grounded, confident, and actually happy in their lives again without giving up their ambitions. And today's solo episode is a good one. We're talking about why forcing yourself to push through when your nervous system is tapped out never works, and how learning to regulate yourself makes everything feel easier, calmer, and you end up being more productive because of it. Stick around because by the end of this episode, you'll know exactly how to shift out of survival mode and back into a version of you that feels lighter, clearer, and way more balanced. Welcome back to another episode of the Higher Alignment Podcast, where high performers come to grow without stress, shame, or burning out. I'm Mintu Lamb, and I'm here to help you work smarter, live fuller, and feel like yourself again. If you're tired of running on empty, book your complimentary assessment call at higheralignmentconsulting.com/program, and let's figure out what's draining your energy and what you can do to start feeling happy and peaceful once again. You can find the link in the show notes. Now let's get into the episode. You know, as high achievers, we are all wired with the idea of productivity at the forefront, right? And most of us live our lives based on like where productivity falls in line. Like productivity decides how much time we give something or where we're spending our time and energy in a day or whether we deserve to go on vacation or we deserve a nap or like really when you think about it, most of us worship productivity, which sounds kind of like messed up if you think about it. But like even just reflecting in my own life, still a little bit now, although I'm much more mindful of it, but especially in my past, it was the center of my universe, right? Like how I structured my days, how I decided if I had downtime, who I spent time with. And like, don't get me wrong, productivity is important, right? Like, we want to be doing things in the world. However, it's this fine balance of when does productivity start to, like, be the driver's seat of your life in a way where now it's costing you it's stressing you out, it's costing you relationships, it's costing you health, it's costing you peace of mind. Like, you know, for high achievers, the majority of us typically get to this point of like quote unquote worshiping productivity based on how we were raised. I know for me, it wasn't intentional probably, but I grew up in a household where, you know, what was praised was how you showed up. Right. And not on just like a basic level of being like a kind child or whatever, which is also very much valued. But like what were your grades in school? You know, I was a competitive dancer. How did you show up? I played the piano, I swam. And while my parents loved me regardless, like I know this, what often happens in these little moments where we achieve something or we're productive, you know, we cleaned our room, we got our homework done, which are all important things, by the way, we get a little extra praise. And so as a kid, you don't know the difference between like mom and dad love me whether my room's clean or not. You just know that, well, hey, when my room's clean, I get a little extra love from mom and dad. You know what I mean? And again, understandably so. I'm not saying parents now all of a sudden you're not going to like give your kids positive reinforcements for doing good things, okay? However, when we're kids, we don't know how to make sense of the fine balance between that. All we know is when I do this, I feel more loved, I feel more connected. So we carry that behavior into adulthood, right? And so then all of a sudden now our whole life becomes based around productivity, productivity, productivity. And again, I'm not saying we need to get rid of that. But what I am saying is when you are dysregulated, when you are burnt out, when you are running on fumes, optimizing for productivity actually won't do shit. Okay. And what I mean by that is what spurred this actual entire conversation is I was talking with a client a few weeks ago, and he was having a really, really busy week. And he's incredible. He's so aware and in tune with his body. And he came to a session. He said, Minju, I'm dysregulated this week. And, he started to tell me all the things he had going on. And he was like, I just need to make sure this week I'm as productive as possible. Like, I just need to maximize my productivity. And I was like, stop. And I was like, you don't need to optimize for productivity. You need to optimize for regulation. And what that means is this: when you are dysregulated, which for those of you who aren't familiar, essentially means your nervous system is out of balance, you are in survival mode. Okay. You can't see big picture. Your prefrontal cortex shut down, which is the part of your brain that's necessary for problem solving and creative thinking and seeing big picture. You start to see very narrow minded, or you see very narrow paths. So you can't see all the options and solutions ahead of you. You're inefficient with your energy and your time usage. You typically have more brain fog. You overthink. Your oxygen levels are shorter because you're not taking as deep of breaths. So again, what normally only takes you maybe 10% of your energy to do, now it's taking up 20, 30%. Like, you're just not running efficiently when you're in a dysregulated state. Okay. So when I hear someone who's fully dysregulated saying they're optimizing for productivity, that's actually the least efficient goal you can go for in that moment. And I get it. I get it. When you're in survival mode, you kick into this gear of wanting to control everything. And for most high achievers, you typically will kick into fight or flight, right? Which is a stress response from your nervous system. And when you're in fight or flight, that makes you want to do more, because that's how your body protects itself. It says, if I do more, if I get this done, if I check off this off the list, if I call this person, if I push through this, if I just do something, it'll relieve this stress and anxiety I feel in my body. And so once you're dysregulated, that belief system, that pattern gets amplified to the point where sometimes it's almost like ridiculous. Like, if you're a third person looking on, it's almost like, whoa, you're like doing way too much, buddy, right now. And it's actually not helping you, right? But you kind of get these blinders on when you're in that mode, right? So when you're dysregulated and you feel like all these fires are popping up around you, you just got to put them out, aka be productive. What's actually going to serve you better in that moment is to maximize for regulation. Okay. Now, what does that mean? Well, when you're in a regulated state, that means your nervous system is in balance. Okay. Which, how do you know if you're in balance? Your body feels safe in the present moment. Okay. Which means it can be right here, right now. It's not thinking about the conversations from yesterday. It's not preparing ahead for a presentation 3 weeks from now. It's not thinking about what your spouse said to you 2 days ago that pissed you off. You're right here, right now. So whether that you're doing something at home, or you're in the middle of a board meeting, or you're preparing a project, like whatever that is, you're fully present and dialed in right here, right now. And you're sharp, you're thinking clear, you're creative, like, and your body just feels relaxed in the moment, right? That's how you can tell you're in a regulated state, is there's a peace and a safety with doing exactly what you're doing in this moment. Okay. Now, when you're in that state, your body, your machine runs efficiently. So again, like I said, what actually only needs 10% of your energy is going to take 10% of your energy, right? The things that maybe aren't that big of a deal, you can have a very clear vision of like, oh, we just need to do this to handle that. And like, you're just responding from clarity instead of reacting from stress. Okay? That's how you know you're in a balanced state. Now, here's the thing. When you're in that state, you end up being productive, right? Because again, things are clear. The machine is pumping and moving efficiently. So now you don't even have to optimize for productivity, because if you optimize for regulation, productivity is a natural byproduct of that, right? So what I encourage you to do is if you're in a place where you're spiraling and things are like piling up and you just feel like you just can't get ahead or not even get ahead, just keep like a pulse on exactly what needs to be done now. Like if you feel like you're constantly like falling behind, this is where I need you to take a time out and you have to have that perspective shift. Okay, right now, my mind is thinking about doing everything from a productive standpoint. What if I just and just test run it for me. If you don't fully believe me, that's okay. I didn't really fully believe it either, but I've done it so many times now for myself and all my clients that I know it works. Just for a week, just for a day, think, how can I make my decisions from a place of regulation? So that means when I'm here to make a decision, I'm not making it based on what's more productive in the moment. I'm making it based on what will regulate me quicker, faster in the moment. Okay. Now, what some of you may be thinking is, well, Mintu, if I'm optimizing for regulation, then I'm going to just like take a bunch of naps, or I'm going to be lazy, or I'm just going to like try and be calm and zen all day. Okay, I understand where you're coming from. But here's the thing. First off, when you optimize for regulation, when your body finally gets that sense of relief, it doesn't all of a sudden say, okay, I'm done. Like I'm checked out. I'm giving up on this. Woo, we're out. Peace. Never mind. Like we just forget any of this. We're like taking off on a boat. We're going to go live out on a beach. I don't know. But what I'm saying is, it's not like all of a sudden when you give your body a sense of relief, it's just going to give up. I know that's what some of you fear. And the reason you fear that is because you've been in survival mode for so long that your body doesn't even know what a breather feels like. So to you, because I remember being in the state, when you've been running on fumes for so long and you've been running in fight or flight for so long, that idea of like rest and restoration, at the moment you get it, you just want to collapse. Like I know for me, the prime example that comes up is when I'd go on vacation, right? So I'd be running on fumes the majority of the year. I'd finally get to Mexico, and what would I do? I would sleep every goddamn day on that beach. I'd get up I'd have breakfast, I'd go lay by the beach, and I would pass out there in the sun in my bikini till about 5 o'clock. And then I'd get up and, and then I'd go have dinner. Like, because I was so burnt out. I was so overwhelmed. Okay. So I know that's what you fear. However, what I wasn't doing at that time is I wasn't giving myself micro breaks. I wasn't maximizing for regulation. So that's why when I got to the beach, I had no choice but just to collapse. Okay. What I'm telling you is if you're in your day-to-day natural habitat right now, knowing there's lots of things going on, if you start with these micro choices of regulation, the body will get just enough relief to be able to reset you, to give you some a fresh like reset of energy that you can now continue doing what you're doing, but you're not going to struggle and fight your way through it. You're going to see things clearer. You're going to move more swiftly. You're going to be more in flow. You're going to be more present. You're going to be able to communicate better. Like everything will start to move in again, like a well-oiled machine. But it's going to take you switching up that thought pattern, because the reality is if you're listening to me or following this, you're probably not running an efficient strategy right now. And that's probably because you always maximize for productivity, right? But what happens is what most of us do is we maximize for productivity in a way that sacrifices our needs. We self-abandon. We forget all the things that are needed to be like normal functioning human beings. We give up our lunchtime. We stay late at work. Some of us work right till 10, 11 p.m. at night. I have a few clients doing that right now. We have broken sleep. We don't eat breakfast in the morning. We're not hydrating. We don't get up from our desk and take a walk or move the body during the day. Like so many of us, in the name of productivity, just sacrifice your normal human needs. And that's why maximizing for productivity isn't effective. Okay. And it's like the reality is just the way the corporate world is set up right now, and how productivity is glorified so much online. It's like you gotta abandon yourself to do it. And it's like I get that. Like I don't regret the years I had doing that, but by no way, shape, or form is that the most effective way to live your life, and is not the most effective way to be productive. Okay. So when you start living from a place of how do I regulate myself. It is not about abandoning your ambitions and your goals and being productive. It is about learning how to feed the machine, which is your body, your nervous system, in a way where it can perform at its best. That is true high performance, people, right? If you're here because you're an executive or a business owner or you're in sales or consulting or whatever, and you just want to be great, true high performance is knowing how to run this machine effectively, right? Like, I always compare it to being like to F1, the sport, in the sense of like, you have the driver, you have the car, and you have the pit crew, right? And all three are necessary. Like, you can have an incredible car, but if the driver's shit, well, we're not going to do great. Or you can have a great driver, right? Like, I worked at Mercedes during the years where Lewis was dominating, and near the end of that there, the car wasn't doing it, but Lewis was still great. And so what? They didn't perform well, right? So that's the same thing here. You're the driver. You have the best intentions up in your brain. You have the best intentions of living a life that feels good and is productive and hits your goals and is still fulfilling and happy and loving. But if you don't have a car, aka the body, that's functioning in a healthy, high performance way, aka eating your lunch, moving your body, getting proper rest, getting proper recovery, like taking a pause, being peaceful, having a moment to meditate and be with yourself. If you're not giving yourself the tools to have a refined car, then it doesn't matter. You're not going to be high performing. Okay? So if you are in a state right now where you know that the machine isn't operating efficiently and you are operating in that mind frame of like, just be productive, be productive, humor me, humor yourself for 1 week. Just try for 1 week. And any of you who want to try this, shoot me a DM. We can do a little mini 7-day challenge for you, whatever the case is. Like, keep me posted on your results. But just for 7 days, I want you to think, how do I maximize for regulation instead of maximizing for productivity? Okay. And now you might be asking, okay, so Mindu, how do I practically do that? Well, you just go back to the examples I just gave you, right? Okay. So the most prime example that I can think of, because I've had a few clients, newer clients start lately, and this has happened for most of them, is they're skipping lunch. They're not eating their lunch, or they're not getting up from their desk from lunch. They're working through their lunch. Okay. So one easy way, maximizing for regulation versus productivity. Well, productivity was you glue yourself to your computer, you never detach, and you essentially melt and mold with that damn desk of yours, okay? And you just sit there and work through your lunch. Or maximizing for regulation would be at noon every day, I'm going to get up and walk away from my desk for 10 minutes without my phone, go for a walk around the building, go for a walk outside, and then I'm going to come back and ideally eat my lunch somewhere else, away from my office, away from my workspace, because that's what my nervous system is going to attach to that place. Or if you're going to sit at your desk, you're going to at least shut off your computer and your notifications, okay? And you're going to give your body a moment to refuel. Again, think of it like a car. It needs gas to run. Food, rest, movement. This is fuel for your body, okay? And then if you go back to what I said earlier about how so many of us use productivity to determine whether we've earned something for the day, like it's like I've heard so many people, and I honestly probably used to function like this, like, did I earn the right to have my lunch? What? That's nuts. That's psycho talk. Like, think about if you said that to your child or to a niece or nephew, and you're like, well, did you do enough today to eat lunch, honey? Like you probably have like child protective services come after you. Like, that's inhumane. So why are you doing it to yourself as an adult? Yeah, okay, the excuse that's going to come to your head is, well, I can handle it. And I have deadlines and I have this. Okay, cool. You can give me every excuse in the book that you want. But what's happening on a subconscious level is you're telling yourself you're not worthy. You're telling yourself you're not worthy of eating lunch based on how much you got done today. And then we wonder why so many of us base our worth based on how productive we are. Think about it. Every time you tell yourself, did I do enough to take a break? Did I do enough to go spend the weekend with my kids? Did I do enough to go have dinner with a girlfriend instead of staying home and doing more work? Like every time you do that, and you have that negotiation dialogue with you, what you're reinforcing is this subconscious belief that I am only worthy if I am productive. And I can tell you right now, as someone who dealt with that wound for a long time, again, you will, in ways you don't even realize, sabotage your health, sabotage your relationships, just sabotage your own happiness and inner peace because you have still not only had this belief, but you reinforce it with these actions of just push through and push through and push through and completely ignore who you are as a human being. And so, if you're a high performer, a high achiever, an executive, a business owner who's maybe lost a bit of your confidence, a swagger, that you used to carry, and all of a sudden you're wondering why you don't have that anymore, that's why. Like, I can say that with so much confidence because I've had this talk with so many people. It's because your behaviors have reinforced a pattern of you are not worthy unless you're productive. And the fucked up part is you probably are still very productive and you are probably taking care of things that most people don't have the capacity to do. And we don't want to take away from that. But at some point, that's not fulfilling enough, right? Because if you're not giving yourself your own basic human needs, then it's like, what am I really worth? Again, it's like telling a kid, it's like, well, when you get 5 hours of homework done, then I'll give you a sandwich. It's like, what? What is that kid going to grow up believing? And so you're playing out that own pattern and behavior with yourself right now. And then you wonder why it's so hard for you to step away from work right at 5 o'clock when you say you're going to. You wonder why it's so hard for you to make it home for dinner on time with your spouse because you just had to stay an extra 20 minutes just to get that done, right? 9 times out of 10, whatever you're staying to do, like, the world's not gonna burn down because of it. But when you're in survival mode, when you are dysregulated, it's hard to see past that. It's hard to believe what I'm saying right now. Like, it's hard to, in the moment, understand that you can step away from this and you can take a moment, you can take a breather, and the world's not gonna fall apart, right? So again, if for this week you're going to try optimizing for regulation versus optimizing for productivity, I encourage you to start with just the basics. Regulation means nutrient dense meals. It means going to bed at a good hour. It means taking a walk and getting outside and breathing fresh air and getting away from fluorescent lights. It means having a moment to connect with your loved ones because the quality of your relationships determines the quality of your life. It means finding things that bring you joy and being able to laugh and feel that sense of joy in your body again. Because chances are, if you've been in fight or flight for a while or dysregulation for a while, you forgot that. And those are the things that keep us young. Those are the things that make us human and what make life so enjoyable. So just start with the basics instead of staying late when you're tired, instead of working through your lunch when you're hungry, instead of starting your morning with your email blasting in your face versus 15 to 20 minutes of you standing outside in the sun. Like, choose regulation. And then after 7 days, see how you feel. I'd have a pretty heavy wager, and you are all free to DM me on LinkedIn or Instagram if you take this little 7-day challenge. You are going to feel lighter. You are going to feel more present in your body. And all of a sudden, all the things that you've been dreading are not going to feel so terrible. And guess what? You're actually going to be able to take care of them in a productive way, which is the whole goal of all of this. It's just forcing it versus flowing with it. Okay? So maximize for regulation, not productivity. Productivity is a natural byproduct of being regulated. And I promise you, if you do it that way, you will feel, again, more present, more peaceful, and you'll not only have a more sustainable way that you're building your career and going after your goals, but you'll actually feel good about it in the process.